Welcome to episode 10 of the Take Two podcast, where Rocky lives on and Wakanda is forever. I'm Kenny. This is Sam. Sam, how much do you love vibranium? Where are you at on vibranium these
If
days?
I hear the word vibranium one more time, I'm going to lose my freaking mind. That's what's going to happen. Because I just watched Wakanda Forever and they use that word about every 5 words. So
Yeah,
don't say vibranium or whatever anymore. It's triggering me.
the movie has bad vibraniums, if you will.
Yes.
Today on the pod, we will be ranking Ryan Coogler's 5 movies. So whether you love Black Panther or fist pumped with Creed, this is the podcast for you. As for housekeeping, we just got done finishing and filming our Sinners episode, our deep dive review on Sinners. So if you haven't seen that, go and listen to that first. We can only assume that because of how popular that movie is, that we now have 1,000 subscribers by the time this releases. So if you're new with us, welcome to our clan, our family. We're very glad to have
Jeez,
you.
Kenny, don't say clan, man. Your name starts with K, and we just
Uh,
reviewed Sinners. Dear Lord.
geez. Oh no. We are 30 seconds into the pod and Kenny's already been canceled. It's a new record. Oh, all right.
That's
Well,
okay.
Sam, you doing good?
Yeah, no, I'm doing excellent. Yeah, the Sinners review
Awesome.
was great. Seriously, if you guys if you haven't seen the movie or you have seen the movie, regardless, go listen to it because that was our first super deep dive and it was really fun. And me and Kenny had really different views on the movie, but we had a similar overall takeaway from it. So
Yeah.
definitely go check that out. And then today, yeah, we're going to be reviewing Ryan Coogler's films. He has 5 films. Sinners was his latest release that everyone's going cray cray for. When Kenny told me we were going to be reviewing Ryan Coogler films this week, I said, who is that? It sounded like a white college baseball player from Chattanooga. And when I realized that he was a famous black director, one of the few, and that I'd already seen 3 of his 4 movies at the time, obviously, because Sinners was being released, I became so self indulgent that for a week I have been going around asking other people if they know who Ryan Coogler are and if they've seen his films. And if they say, oh, I don't know who that is, or no, I have not seen those films, I have been responding in such a way where I am putting myself on a moral pedestal and telling them, wow, you're not a supporter of black directors like I am. And
You're
I
not an
can now
ally like
see
Sam.
after this past week, the judgment I've laid down on all these people that aren't as great of allies to the black community as myself, I can see now why people do this with other things. So I just wanted to point out how the last week of my life has gone. It's been awesome. I just feel like I'm on cloud nine. And I'm really excited to review one of my favorite directors who happens to be black, Ryan Coogler.
Yeah, there is no better feeling than knowing that you are morally superior to other people. Just knowing that like they are down, like, going back to their own vomit and you're elevated, you have this like evolved mind. It's wonderful,
Yeah,
Like good for you for being such an ally, Sam.
I
Everyone
appreciate
knows
that.
how much of an ally you
I
are.
didn't even know how much of an ally I was. And that it's just been like it's reframed my entire self history. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Good
cool.
for you.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know who Ryan Coogler is, yeah, so he is one of the most famous black directors of our time. He is he is really, really impressive. He's had 5 movies so far. I believe that he's 38. And so, if you're thinking a movie takes, I can't remember when he had filmed Fruitvale Station, 2013. So he's been doing this for a little over a decade now. He's been doing this for 12 years. He has 8 movies. He's 38, and he just continues to hit it out of the park. He has 5 movies. His 5 movies are 2013. He released Fruitvale Station, and then his next movie was Creed. The movie after that was Black Panther, probably his most famous movie. And then he released Black Panther 2, and then most recently here, April 2025, he has recently released Sinners 2, astounding responses, I would say. Astounding responses.
Yes.
But yeah, he's impressive. He was a D1 college football player at one of my least favorite college football schools ever, Sacramento State. Sac State, you can suck it. You don't
Yeah, suck our
belong in the
sacks. Suck our
Pac-12.
sacks.
Oh no. Oh
Sack
no. Oh
State.
no. Yeah, yeah. Okay, there we go. I was yeah, okay. Good job.
Thank you.
Moving on. Sam,
Let's get into
what
the
would you
rankings. I want to
say?
rank these movies. I
Okay, let's
watched, I
rank.
probably rewatched a few of them. Okay. So I'm ready to rank Ryan Coogler films. We're 5 minutes in the episode. That's what people are itching for. Let's rank these frickin' movies.
Let's do it. Do you want me to start or do you want to start?
Why don't you start?
Okay. My fifth favorite Ryan Coogler movie is Black Panther 2: Wakanda Forever. So, this movie to me was put in a really tricky spot. It was released just post-COVID. Um, Chadwick Boseman had recently passed away. The unfortunate part of the movie is a lot of like the emotional weight of the movie comes from the fact that it is paying a lot of homage to Chadwick Boseman and his amazing career, but the movie is also crippled by the fact that he's not there, and they're trying to the movie is still compelling because in the same way there is a funeral scene. The Black Panther has died, and they I think Ryan Coogler was really, really close with Chadwick Boseman, and there's just like a really beautiful scene there and how it's connecting and like how all of the characters that were left behind are dealing with the grief of like losing a brother, losing a son. Like there's so much there, but that is the emotional weight of the movie. For me, this movie is so good. I don't want to say it's not good. I think that all of Ryan Coogler's movies are, and I know I say this a lot, but they really are all very well made. He is he is very precise, he is direct, his pacing is really strong. He clearly has a good handle on his actors, on his crew. This movie is the same way. But a lot of the rest of this movie is like kind of forgettable. Like I had totally forgotten that Namor the Submariner had even like shown up in film and not just like off of comics. And I was like, oh shoot, this is the movie with Namor the Submariner in it. It looks really beautiful. All the underwater stuff looks great. It's arguably more effective in that sense than Aquaman is. But yeah, this movie for me is at the bottom of the list. I gave it a 6.75 to 7 is what I have written down. I
Wow,
think I want to be
really,
generous here.
really specific in that
Yeah.
range. Six point
Yeah.
five six seven five eight. Okay,
Yeah.
well done, Kenny.
I'll go with 7 because it is still good, but um yeah, it doesn't have a lot of the rewatchability that a lot of other Coogler movies have.
Okay, so well said. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is my fourth favorite Ryan Coogler film. That might shock you. I also have it at a 6.5 out of 10, so I like it more than one of his other movies. But I have the score slightly lower than what you have. I'm going to echo a few things. One, very forgettable movie. Two, it does pay really respectful and awesome homage to Chadwick Boseman and Black Panther. I legitimately like actually got a little emotional during the ceremony scene at the beginning and at the end
Yeah,
too, where they're paying homage to him. I think they did an amazing job with that. I think that has to be one of the toughest film tasks, to lose a star that was not only just beloved by the Black Panther community, but also by the Marvel community and even beyond that. The
yeah,
dude just had aura. Chadwick Boseman did,
yeah.
and we'll get to Black Panther. We'll talk about him because obviously he's not really in this film, but I think they paid really good tribute. I
Agreed.
think it's really hard because they didn't really have a superhero in the movie for 95% of the movie. And the only follow up to the superhero is just his sister basically taking over as Girl Black Panther at the end, which, okay, whatever. It just the whole movie's forgettable. I think Neymar actually does a decent job, but honestly, let me say this. Neymar and any underwater creature, this extends to you, Aquaman. I love DC, but I am not intimidated by you. I do not care for you. It is silly. It is funny. When Namor comes out of the water and he's got these little butterfly wings or whatever flapping his feet around, and it's at night and he's supposed to be sort of intimidating, I am not intimidated. And that's hard because he does a good job with the setting. I'm like, I know I'm supposed to feel intimidated, but this dude has got little flippers on his feet and is flipping around with his little fish friends. Like, and he goes back underneath. I'm like, bro, I can't take you seriously. You're just a little fish man. And so, and I still think he did a good job, but it's like, you little fish people, just go in your little underwater Ursula, Little Mermaid world. It's a tough superhero villain, whatever you say. Anyone trying to do anything underwater, it's a tough life. Okay,
Right.
So I think beyond the fact that you have a generally forgettable movie that does go too long. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes, and it really stretches out because of all the time. They probably spent about 30 to 40 minutes spent paying homage in this movie throughout the thing and just talking about the original Black Panther and what he meant to everybody, which is touching, but it does drag on a bit. I will say too, for anyone who does remember this movie, I had a friend who's a diehard Marvel fan, didn't watch this movie. I had another friend who said he fell asleep in the freaking theater to this movie, and he's black. So, shame on him for that. He isn't like me. I only took a pause. He's not as much of a supporter of Ryan Coogler and black directors as I am. But I will say, 40 minutes in, I had to pause this movie and really debate for 2 or 3 days if I wanted to finish it because it was so slow. But okay, I came back and I finished the movie. I'm going to make one gripe about this movie before we move on is they bring in Martin Freeman, the white guy, and Elaine is in the movie, whatever. So they have this whole opening scene with the U.S. government and how all these world governments are trying to get their hands on vibranium because they want to use it, and the Wakandans are like, no, we don't trust you. All of you corrupt. All of you are corrupt. All you want is war. You're not getting it. We're going to stay our own nation. Okay, I like that. I respect that. It makes sense. I like where they were going with that. They are constantly moving back and forth with the government throughout the film. It really pays almost no impact on the movie at all. And even at the end of the movie, like Martin Freeman, gets arrested for kind of helping them at one point, and then he gets freed at the end by the Wakandans. But it's a really lame subplot, and I think that 20 minutes is what extended the movie too long and could have been brought down. How do you fix that? You're asking me, Kenny. How does the director fix it? I'm so great at fixing movies. I'm so good at fixing movies. Okay, if you're going to do all that, here's the thing. There's this giant fight between all the fishy monsters, very intimidating, and the Wakandans in all their new suits on this big Wakandan boat at the end. I don't really like the fight scene. I think it's forgettable and messy, and it's kind of whatever. But you fight, a bunch of the Wakandans are dead, they killed a bunch of the fishies, and then they come to an agreement, sort of an unconventional ending where Black Panther female version and Namor, the bad guy, come to an agreement. They say, hey, let's respect one another. Let's make an alliance and be there for when, in case the world comes at us at some point, and we'll do that. Okay, you know what? I'm actually okay with that ending. Everyone's tired on the boat. These two come together. You know what needs to happen at that point in the film is the U.S. government, NATO, whatever, needs to attack this boat when they're down and the chips are against them. And that's where we need to see a team up and say, oh my gosh, look, the Wakandans, the whole movie, have been saying, we don't trust these outsiders. We don't trust all these governments. But they haven't shown necessarily why they can't fully be trusted besides a scene at the beginning, but it needs to come in full force at the end. And that is how you make this movie memorable. Similar to how you want me to fix Game of Thrones, you want me to fix the ending. It's not the White Walkers versus all the good guys, right? What needs to happen is all the good guys need to storm What's the big place? The Red Keep or whatever.
King's Landing.
They need to storm King's Landing. Both sides, dark, evil, need to be decimated. And that's when they have to come together and fight the frozen, spiky headed guy. And that's the ending we wanted that we didn't get. So, anyways, long rant. That's my fourth favorite movie, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, 6.5 out of 10.
Do you want to talk about your fifth?
Yeah, sorry that was so long winded. um,
No, that's good.
I'll keep it short and sweet. Fruitvale Station is my fifth. I still liked it. I gave it a 6 out of 10. This film is a precursor really to the Black Lives Matter movement to an extent, and it's based on a true story, and it follows this guy. I forget his name.
Oscar.
Okay, yeah, I was scared for a second. I forgot the name that you were to say. Say his name. Okay, it's Oscar. Great. And so Oscar, super tragic, and the ending of the movie portrays what actually happened super well. This guy and a few others are arrested for fighting on a train. I believe it's on New Year's or Christmas or something like that.
It's New Year's.
New
Yeah.
Year's. Okay, and a cop at the end of the movie. This is the climax. Pulls out his gun. They have him handcuffed on the ground. He's not really resisting at this point. And he's resisting a little, but nothing that warrants anything. And he pulls out a gun and he shoots him in the back and kills him. And and the cop says, "Oh my goodness, I thought it was my taser." Wow. Wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow. What a complete pathetic excuse. I've seen the real film. I think personally, this cop for something like that, and this is before body cams, right? So this is actually being filmed by other black pedestrians that are watching this abuse take place. Thank God that they were there filming this.
Right.
Like this cop, he received an 11-month sentence for murdering this person in cold blood in front of all these people because he said, "I thought I pulled my taser out." I don't care what you thought. That is inexcusable, right? This is freaking 20 years to life. Like that is an inexcusable sentence in my opinion. And the thing that frustrates me the most as an ally, very, very frustrated. And it's really emotional. It's an emotional part of the film and it gets to you. So good film overall, our introduction to Ryan Coogler. Before I hand it over, I'll say the things I didn't like about the film.
Yeah.
Carlos, what's his name?
Oh, Oscar.
Say his name. Oscar. Oscar. So he's an ex-convict in real life and in the film. Throughout the film, and I know we talked about this a few weeks ago, this is something that bothers me. Throughout the film, there were a few fictional things thrown in, like the same with the dog, and he's trying to get away from drugs, right? And he's throughout the film portrayed as someone in this final day of his life because it's shown in one day. He's making all the right decisions in these tough situations to try and turn his life around. And there's really no evidence of that, like in real life. I don't want to pass judgment, but I think it's a difficult thing to, again, create sort of a sympathetic fiction behind this character. I think it's super effective for the end of the film. I think if this person had been portrayed as a terrible person throughout the film, as he was an ex-convict, then I think maybe the ending hits a little differently, which isn't the point of what happens at the end. So I think there's purpose behind it, but I don't necessarily agree with it. And it just bothered me a little bit. I think they could have pulled at least sort of, if you're going to go that route, maybe lean the other route a little bit too and say, hey, maybe no one fully knew where this guy was at, but regardless, this shouldn't happen to anyone in this situation. Right. But overall, good movie, emotionally impactful. That's my fifth favorite.
Yeah. Fruitvale Station is my number 4. So I think I have a lot of the same gripes as you, where Oscar is like, I think that the film does a decent job of portraying him as pretty complicated. Like he does have his issues. He's an ex-convict. Even after he gets out of prison, he has insane anger issues, like super, like he cheated on his baby mama, his girlfriend. He lies a lot in this movie to his family still. Like he's not being honest. He is still selling drugs even though he says he's trying to get out of selling pot, that sort of stuff. But like there are parts that endear him, like hey, like he really loves his daughter. There is the scene with the dog. The scene with the dog is very much like a hey, we are trying to endear you to this
Right.
guy, and it
And it's
is a
completely
little
made up,
uh,
which is the tough part.
yeah, it's like really ham-fisted. And but I think that the overall message of the movie is still um powerful because I think what Coogler is getting at in this movie, I gave this movie 7.5 out of 10. um I think what he is getting at is regardless of this dude's history, he did not deserve what he got, and his family didn't deserve what he got. Like his family is the victim not only of his own crimes, but also this crime committed against him. And the thing that is really like the movie takes like a few liberties, but that last scene, like, because I was like, okay, hold on, let me like do some research so I can actually know. And so I was doing all these research. I was like reading some like the San Francisco articles at the time, some of the police report stuff, like trying to like piece it all together, and then like using the Wikipedia article to keep myself straight, basically. And it's just the live footage. The movie opens with live footage of someone recording it 2008 on their like flip phone, literally recording this event happening on the BART, on the San Francisco train system, and like just like pretty much depicts his death, like the real Oscar's death. And after doing all the research, I don't think I've seen a movie, at least recently, that I feel like took so much effort to very accurately depict what had happened. And there are some liberties there, like at least from what I read, there all that we know is that a fight broke out on the train. It's not even necessarily like I don't what I found is or I couldn't find anything about who actually like was a part of the fight or if Oscar was a part of the fight. But it's interesting because at least Ryan Coogler says like, hey, like let's suppose that he was a part of the fight. Let's say he did start the fight. Does he still deserve what he got? And the answer is like no. Was he perfect? No. But like, does that mean that his daughter deserved to be left fatherless? Does that mean that like his parent, like the scene in the hospital where Octavia Spencer, who plays his mom, is like his entire community is around him. His crew is like his Oscar's friends are there. His girlfriend is there. Like some uncles or other people that are connected to his mom are there, and she's just praying that her son is healed from this. And he's not. He dies in the hospital. He dies from his wounds. And then it kind of like cuts to another ceremony like a little bit later, and it shows his daughter a few years older. This is like again going back to live footage, kind of like commemorating the anniversary of when this had happened. I think they like put some plaque or memorial of some sort up at the BART to kind of commemorate it. But then it cuts to black and it talks about like the officer who had shot him and said, "Hey, he was initially charged for like manslaughter or second degree murder, manslaughter, and because he was able to get off on this super light charge of, oh, I thought it was my taser, then he only had to serve 11 months." So
Yeah,
I think that it's
very
just
very
got like
frustrating. I think we
yeah,
summarized it well. I think we need to move on to the next one, but I
yeah, yeah.
think really good points across the board there.
Okay.
So
Do you want
yeah,
you do
you do your
your
third favorite.
My third is Sinners. So we don't need to spend as much time on this because we talked a lot about it. Sinners is quite good. It's marketed as a horror movie. It's not really a horror movie. I don't think this movie is going to go down as a horror movie personally. It pays a lot of homage to other like there was a time I think in the 70s where there were a lot of like quote unquote like Hollywood was a bunch of white people were making like oh it's Dracula but he's black. They and like literally would call it like there is a movie that
Blackula.
exists out there literally called Blackula.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie is kind of like paying homage to a lot of those sorts of movies, like those sorts of like old horror movies. In itself, it's not very scary, but it is very effective. It's a movie about the blues. The it's again, it is a technically impressive movie. It looks beautiful. It is staged beautifully. I think it is paced quite well. It is not too long. The actors are acting at a very high level and performing all around at a very high level. The music is absolutely incredible, both the live performances and the Sorensen score is really, really great. But yeah, this movie for me, eight was an 8 out of
Yeah.
10.
Great call. Yeah, we just did our first deep dive review on this film. We've done a lot of rankings thus far as we get our feet wet and we find the format of our podcast. So please go listen to that. It was the episode before this one. I think y'all will enjoy it. I have this as my third favorite as well. I ranked it at a 7.5 out of 10. The first half of the film is not horror at all, effectively. It's just historical fiction, and it's really well done. Like 9 out of 10 first half of the movie. The back half of the movie is horror. I think this movie will continue to be categorized and considered a horror, but I don't think it's very scary, and I don't think it does anything really too original on the horror side of things. It doesn't quite hit home like something like Get Out has done from a black director that brings in some relations and stuff like that. But still, really good movie. It's all the hype in the world right now. So, is it worth seeing in theaters? That's what I'm seeing a lot of comments pop up in the live chat right now. I would say, yeah, it's worth seeing in theaters for a matinee.
Yeah.
I think for a matinee, it's worth seeing for sure. So,
It's
Sinners.
beautifully shot.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
it's beautiful.
shot on
Cinematography,
IMAX.
directing's great. There's a few plot holes here or there, but overall, like, really awesome movie to look at. Entertaining, beginning to end. I was never bored, and really, really awesome. So yeah, Sinners, a solid 3, 7.5 out of 10. That's a good score for me. I tend to bump my numbers down. I think a little more than Kenny, but
I'd
I
give
think a
it
seven and a
8.5
half
if I
is great.
could.
Like I think if 7.5 is like means you should see this movie likely at some point.
Yeah,
So on to our two. I'm
correct.
thinking we have the same two. What do you got?
My number 2 is Black Panther.
Wow, no. Yeah, no, I actually
Oh,
respect and honor Chadwick Boseman. So Black Panther's
oh,
my favorite movie, but you
you're such an
you
ally. It's
I am such
crazy.
an ally, it's insane. You are
Yeah.
also an ally for selecting Creed, correct?
Yes, Creed is my number 1.
Okay, go on about Creed.
Oh, do you want to talk about Creed or you want to talk about Black Panther?
Let's talk about Creed since that's your.
Okay.
Oh wait. Oh no, actually no, sorry. Yeah, you're right. Let's talk about Black Panther, your number 2, my number 1.
Yes. So Black Panther is really, really good. I remember seeing this movie in theaters. This was like the height. This is where Marvel was truly, truly just in its bag. Every single movie they released was a huge hit, making $1 billion. Was incredible. Black Panther, no different. The set design is some of my favorite, like architecturally. I work in the architecture realm, and this movie, like the Afrofuturism vibe of the buildings and stuff, like I want to go and hang out in Wakanda because it looks so cool the way that they're connecting nature to the outside. That's really powerful. His suit's incredible. The music in this movie all around is absolutely electric. Once again, Sorensen is cooking. He is doing such a good job here. And then it's all Chadwick Boseman, right? Chadwick Boseman is just doing what he does. He just is able to captivate you in such a powerful way, just like by the looks in his eyes. Like he comes into this movie trying to understand like how is he going to be king. He has a lot of questions about it. He has his dad on this like elevated pedestal, and then as the movie goes on, he finds out that there are things that his dad did that just he doesn't agree with, and his dad becomes human to him really, and he's like trying to wrestle with that. It's like, wait, but like you're my hero. Like what sort of king am I supposed to be? Because he is the like well, okay, Thor is also royalty, but the royalty aspect of this movie is very much a part of it. And then him juxtaposed to Michael B. Jordan, Ryan Coogler's muse, really, Michael B. Jordan,
Yes.
as oh gosh, what's that? What I don't
Killmonger.
even Killmonger. Thank you, but that that clash there of like uh Michael B. Jordan wants to create basically like a black state where he's like, hey, it is our time to be the colonizers. We have the ability to take over and have power, all that sort of things. And the movie ends with this like climactic fight scene, but also a conversation between Chadwick Boseman and Michael B. Jordan, where at the end is like, if we do that, we are no better than those colonizers were who like had taken from us. And so
People like Kenny.
really, really powerful movie. Again, it's all talking about being above. Is all talking about being like better than, like, hey, like learn from the mistakes of the past, learn from the mistakes of your father, learn from the mistakes of your enemy. Killmonger, in my opinion, is also one of the more convincing villains where you're like, oh, that's an interesting point. Like most of the villains are just like vaguely bad in a lot of the Marvel movies, and I love like everything pre Endgame. I adore. I watched every single one of them in theaters. But for the most part, the stories are a lot more about the heroes than they are about the villains. The villains are mostly there for um, to varying degrees plot, but here Killmonger is really posing the movie's question to, are you going to be a better king to T'Challa? So that is why Black Panther is number 2 for me.
And what did you give that out of 10, out of curiosity?
I gave it an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay, sweet. So I had Black Panther as my favorite film. I gave it a 9 out of 10. I, like you, have seen virtually every Marvel film leading up to Endgame. I personally think a lot of them are super mid, but I thought Black Panther,
Boo.
I know, all the Marvel people are gonna hate on me. I'm sorry. Like I've seen the first Thor, I've seen I've seen the first Captain America. They're not that good. They're okay. In a lot of instances, like their second and third films are better. Black Panther though is, in my opinion, one of the maybe 2 to 3 superhero films pre Endgame where the original film is so fantastic and standalone, and it shows in the box office, right? That movie made 1.3 billion dollars. Like
Yeah.
that's an obscene amount of money, and it was a cultural phenomenon, right? It was the first time, and I roll my eyes at stuff like this sometimes, but in this case I can honestly connect with it. Is a lot of people were like, this is the first time I'm getting to see a black hero superhero and identify with it. And not only that, but like you said, we get Killmonger in the movie, right? So we get an equally, like, it would have been really a cheap way to like, oh, make a white villain and go really just raise tension with it. No, it's like 2 people from a similar background and how their lives have gone differently, and
Hmm.
royalty versus like, oh, what's inherited in me versus I'm going to take what I want. I've had a bad life. And hilarious that you say, oh, they're having a conversation during the end fight scene. That's always the funniest thing to me, is when people are fighting in movies, especially at the end. It's like life or death, and they're taking a few minutes to be like, a few seconds to be like, this person trying to murder me. I'm going to try and change their mind with these 2 seconds I have and be like, wait, we should be friends. Like, no, you guys are trying to rip each other's throats out.
You
But
were my brother, Anakin.
yeah, exactly. Well, at least that was after the fight.
Yeah, yeah.
But
He had the high ground. What can
yes,
he
that's
do?
right. Killmonger is fantastic, though, right? And I think in order, in many ways, to get a smash hit like this, is your hero has to, in many ways, equal the villain. Enter The Dark Knight, right? Christian Bale at the top of his career going up against Heath Ledger, top of his career, and just both bringing incredible performances where it doesn't matter who's on screen, we're magneted to it the entire time. So I thought this movie it's a top 5 Marvel movie for me in general. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
Marvel movies out there, and that's a lot coming from me. I would say, like, the only film, and I'm not going to include the original Spider-Mans in this, but as far as the films that led into Endgame, it's probably my second favorite behind the original Iron Man. So I just think this movie is amazing. I think Chadwick Boseman's aura was fantastic. Such a tragedy, right, that he passes away in between the
Yeah.
films because he's just so awesome. His screen presence is just a
Yeah.
10. He's so freaking cool and chill all the time. Like, I left that movie just wanting to, like, have just like low aura presence and talk to everyone like everything's gonna be okay, everything's chill, trust me. And so
Yeah.
he was awesome. Michael B. Jordan, I think one of the best Marvel villains and one of the few that feel intimidating. He
Yes.
puts in body work. He has these sick scars that are all over his body, and it's like he is truly intimidating, right? To me, okay, you get Thanos that's intimidating to an extent, but it's just these powerful rings, and he's kind of like, boom, I beat you. It's like you feel Michael B. Jordan, what he's put into this role. And so, anyways, it's my
Yeah.
favorite Ryan Coogler film, 9 out of 10 for me.
Nice. So now
And
we can talk about Creed.
we can talk about Creed, which is my second favorite, and I have it just under at an 8.5 out of 10. So that's
Yeah.
my second
So
favorite. I think
yeah,
Creed.
we
Should I go or should you go?
I'll go. I'll go.
Okay, you go.
So yeah, you're my rating to switch. So I have Creed at 9 out of 10. I rewatched this movie this past week and I was just absolutely blown away by it. I don't have like I have seen the Rocky movies. It's been a while since I've seen that. I don't necessarily feel like I have a whole lot of like history there with like loving Rocky and being excited for a spiritual sequel like this. But this movie is so good because it's really powerful in the sense of it is a really good like boxing movie. You can tell that by the end of that filming, Michael B. Jordan knew how to box. Like this, and I remember this being a really, really big deal even back in what 2015 when this movie was released. Everyone was talking about like, oh my gosh, you feel like you're in the fight, the way that it's being shot and how close in it is, and like it has a few oneers in there too, which is always like a fun technical thing. But it's so in it, and I am watching this movie 10 years later and I'm having that same reaction of like, no one else has done this. Like, no one else has done fight choreography like this to where you feel so in it, except for maybe John Wick. And even then, the gun fu thing kind of you have that. You're not in the close quarters. This movie is so so good at that. The montages are definitely worthy of the Rocky name, but I do think that this story is a little bit more powerful potentially than the other Rocky movies. That might be sacrilegious for me to say, but in in this movie you have Adonis Johnson, who is Apollo Creed's son, the person who Rocky fights in the first movie. And Apollo Creed, heavyweight or pound for pound best fighter in the world, ends up dying when he faces Ivan Drago, I believe. I can't remember. I get the Rocky movies mixed up. Anyway, Apollo is dead. Adonis never met his dad. He gets adopted. He grows up. He doesn't know really who he is. He finds out he's Apollo Creed's son, and he is really his dad. It's actually similar to Black Panther in the sense where he idolizes his dad, but he also hates his dad for leaving him. And there's a kind of a backstory there too, where Adonis was born out of wedlock with an affair that Apollo Creed had with his mom, and the person who brought him up was Apollo Creed's wife. And so there's just like a lot of tension there where he doesn't want to like ride on the Creed name, but he wants to be a fighter. He quits his job early in the movie, and he is just single-mindedly driven to become a boxer. And so where does he go? He goes to Philly and he finds Rocky Balboa. He finds Rocky Balboa, and it's fun seeing Stallone kind of play, a little bit more of a chill role. He's more laid back. He doesn't want to take it on. Rocky's kind of wrestling with, hey, Apollo is my friend. Do I really want to subject his son to the same potential fate that my friend had? He's trying to protect Adonis from Apollo's fate. But at the end of the day, he agrees to train him and he starts training him. And in the middle of the movie, you find out that Rocky he finds out that he has lymphoma, that he has cancer, and that he's dying from it. And at first, because his wife had passed away from cancer, and the chemo didn't work for her. He was just like, hey, I'm not gonna fight this. I don't want to go through chemo. And Adonis is like, hey, if I'm going to fight, you are going to fight. And so you have this also awesome juxtaposition to where it's like, hey, this is still a Rocky movie. Rocky is still fighting in this movie, but he's fighting in a different way. And I thought that was awesome. And then the final fight between Adonis and oh gosh, Ricky Conlon, pretty Ricky Conlon, where a guy who is pound for pound best fighter in the world is about to go to prison because of assault, but he has one last fight, and he's going to fight Apollo Creed's son. It comes out that even though Adonis has been going by the name of Johnson, it comes out that he is Apollo Creed's son. It becomes a big deal, and he gets this opportunity to fight the best weight for pound champion of the world. And that fight is incredible. The makeup in that movie is just like mind blowing to where it looks like he's bleeding. His eyes get super puffy. They're doing all of these things. It's just that last sequence is so fast and so powerful. And the movie ends in kind of a good homage back to Rocky too, or Rocky as well, where even though Adonis doesn't win the fight, he wins the crowd. He walks away the people's champion from that fight. And I found myself literally down in my basement, like fist pumping. I was cheering for him. I was so excited. I was so invested in Adonis's fight and in Adonis's story that I was just really impacted by it. I mean, the reason why I'm talking about this movie like it's a 10 out of 10. This movie is a 9 out of 10 for two reasons. One, I didn't find the love story very compelling. I kind of felt the same way in the original Rocky movies where I'm like, I didn't actually really need him to have a love interest. Like, she is interesting. She by herself is like somewhat compelling, but I don't need like that. I didn't need that as part of the movie. The other thing that made this movie, and this is not all the movie's fault, but I remember watching Manny Pacquiao fight Floyd Mayweather the same year this came out, and I was so disappointed because that was the first time I'd ever watched a live boxing match, and it was the most boring match of all time. And I was like, is this real boxing? Is real boxing this like dumb and boring? It's not, but that movie, like this movie set a really high expectation for boxing for me, and I felt like it was crushed very early.
Okay, all very well said. I could also see Creed in a 9 out of 10. I sort of nudged it down to an 8.5 so I could give Black Panther that edge for me. I think just more so for the cultural significance that Black Panther had because, as I mentioned, ally. I will say, as we round these out, I've learned that Michael B. Jordan is in every Ryan Coogler film, as you said. He's his muse. And I've also learned that he just has a rough, fatherless life in every single role he takes on. He just never has a good father role. So that's my call. The next time we see a Coogler film with Michael B. Jordan in it, get ready for a fatherless or complex relationship with his father. First off, how dare you lump in the relationship between Adrian and Rocky from the original Rocky as being something sort of lame like in Creed? His love interest is not that good in Creed, okay? It's like you said, it's one of the only knocks on the movie because the rest of the movie, this is his best film. It's hard to compare Creed and Black Panther, right? Superhero movie versus like a technically sound film. That's one of the only knocks on the movie. But Adrian and Rocky are like an amazing story. Like I can rewatch Rocky so many times and they just have this beautiful, quiet love. I mean, Rocky won Best Picture. So let's give it some credit there.
Wild.
It is an amazing movie. I've seen it. I grew up with the Rockies. Like I would be doing push-ups. I'd be watching every back to back. Love the Rockies 1 through 4. And then from 5, 5 sucks. But, anyways, I think I agree with everything you said. Creed's an amazing film. Again, I think you can feel Michael B. Jordan's intensity in this film throughout the whole film. He has some anger issues, right? And I think we see some of that come out in Black Panther as Killmonger. Like that same intensity and screen presence is awesome. So I think this movie's amazing. Here's the weird thing. I think it nails this so well. Coogler only did the first Creed movie. I have not seen the sequels, and I've heard they're good, but it can be tough when a director directs a banger like this and then he leaves. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I just haven't been interested in watching the other Creeds. But I'm going to try and get into them at some point because the first one was great. And I assume they at least try to keep the style similar. And I've heard they're good. So, well, that rounds out our top 5 movies. So for me, I had Fruitvale Station at 5, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever at 4, Sinners at 3, Creed at 2, Black Panther at 1. And Kenny, what did you
Yeah.
have?
I had Wakanda Forever at 5, Fruitvale Station at 2, Sinners at 3, Black Panther at 2, and Creed at 1.
Okay, some of your numbers got a little funky in there, but that's okay.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No,
Yeah.
that's all right. We understand. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode where we ranked Ryan Coogler films. The next episode, we are going to do a draft of the best sports films with our first surprise guest star. So we are super excited to have him on. Please like, sub, comment if you haven't. Let us know your favorite Ryan Coogler film. And until next time, goodbye, allies.